90% of new parents believe the first real milestone is when their baby rolls over or sits up. But they are missing the most profound neurological shift that happens right under their noses. If you are sitting there in your living room in Chicago or quiet nursery in Los Angeles, exhausted and wondering if your 8-week-old is on track, this episode is for you. We aren't just talking about growth charts and diaper counts today. We are talking about the moment your baby stops being a newborn and starts becoming a person. If you've been feeling like you're just a 24-hour milk and diaper service, hang on, because the 2-month mark is where the magic finally starts to pay back the sleep deprivation. Most parents walk into their 2-month pediatrician appointment in a complete fog. You've likely spent the last 60 days in a blur of midnight feedings and wondering why your baby looks through you rather than at you. Society tells us that the big milestones are the ones we can take pictures of: crawling, walking, eating solid foods. Because of this, we often ignore the subtle, high-stakes development happening in the brain at 8 weeks. You might think your baby is just staring or just making noise, but in reality, their brain is currently undergoing a massive rewiring project that would put a New York City infrastructure overhaul to shame. Why does this matter? Because when you don't know what to look for, you miss the opportunities to fuel that growth. The problem is that many parents are still treating their 2-month-old like a 1-week-old. They keep them in dark rooms, they don't engage in face-to-face play because the baby doesn't react yet, and they miss the critical window for early visual and social priming. Research from the American Academy of Pediatrics shows that the interaction you have now, in these specific weeks, sets the stage for language development 2 years down the line. The experts, the ones seeing thousands of infants in clinics from Manhattan to Miami, know that the quiet milestones are actually the loudest indicators of health. Let's reveal the first major truth that almost no one tells you. The social smile is a biological milestone, not just a cute face. In a landmark study conducted at Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, researchers tracked how infants respond to still faces versus engaged faces. At 2 months, a baby's brain is finally developed enough to recognize a human face as something special. It's no longer just a reflex or gas. When they look at you and curve those tiny lips upward, they are firing off a complex circuit in the prefrontal cortex. This is the first time your baby is intentionally communicating a positive emotion. If your baby isn't doing this yet, don't panic, but start paying attention to how they track your movement across the room. Now let's talk about the Mini-Pushup. This is the physical cornerstone of the 2-month mark. When you place your baby on their tummy, you should see them attempting to lift their head and chest. They aren't going to look like a bodybuilder in a Venice Beach gym, but they should be able to hold that head up at a 45-degree angle for a few seconds. This isn't just about neck strength. It's about the development of the vestibular system, which controls balance and spatial orientation. Think of it as the foundation for every single physical move they will ever make, from sitting up to eventually running a marathon. To give you a real-world example, I want to tell you about a mother named Sarah in Brooklyn. Sarah was convinced her son Leo was behind because he hated tummy time. He would scream the moment his chest hit the playmat. She felt like a failure. But during her 2-month checkup, her doctor pointed out something Sarah had missed. Leo was tracking a red rattle with his eyes across a 180-degree arc. While he struggled with the push-up, his visual tracking was elite. Development isn't a straight line. It's a series of peaks and valleys. By focusing on high-contrast cards and mirror play, Sarah helped Leo build the visual confidence that eventually led him to enjoy being on his tummy. Within 2 weeks, he was pushing up like a pro. Here's a framework I want you to memorize to track your baby's progress. I call it the S.P.E.A.K method. It stands for Smile, P, Push-Up, E, Eye Tracking, A, Acoustics, and K, Kicking. S is for that social smile we talked about. This should be happening by week 8 or 9. It's the reset button for parents, the moment you realize all that hard work is worth it. P is for the push-up during tummy time. E is for eye tracking. Can they follow a toy or your face from left to right? A is for acoustics. Are they making cooing sounds? Not just crying, but those sweet ooh and ah vowel sounds. And K is for kicking. Their movements should be becoming less jerky and more fluid as their nervous system matures. Let's dive deeper into the A in S.P.E.A.K, the acoustics. At 2 months, your baby is discovering their own voice. They are moving away from the survival cries of the newborn stage and into vocal play. This is where you'll hear the first coos. If you respond to these sounds, you are literally building their brain. When they say ah and you say ah back, you are teaching them the serve and return of human conversation. It's a biological game of tennis. If you stay silent, that circuit doesn't strengthen as quickly. In a study out of the University of Washington, babies who had more conversational turns at 2 months had significantly higher language scores by age 5. Let's look at a roadmap for these next few weeks. In week 7, you might notice your baby is more alert. They are awake for longer stretches. Use this time for visual stimulation. In week 8, the big checkup usually happens. This is where you'll get those 2-month vaccinations. Pro tip: plan for a low-key 24 hours after this appointment. Your baby might be extra sleepy or a bit fussy as their immune system does its work. By week 9, you'll likely see the social smile become a regular occurrence rather than a rare event. I want to address a common red flag that causes a lot of anxiety. What if your baby isn't smiling yet? First, take a deep breath. Every baby has a different processing speed. Some babies are observers. They want to take in the whole world before they decide to interact with it. However, if by 10 or 12 weeks you see no social engagement, no eye contact, and no reaction to loud noises, that is when you should have a deeper conversation with your pediatrician. In most cases, it's just a matter of a few more days of development, but early intervention is the gold standard for a reason. Now, let's talk about the advanced layer of 2-month development, something the master parents do. It's called visual scaffolding. Most people buy colorful toys with 50 different patterns, but at 2 months, a baby's retinas are still developing. They see high-contrast black and white much better than pale pastels. If you want to supercharge their tracking, use black and white cards. Move them slowly, about 8 to 12 inches from their face. This is the optimal focal length for a 2-month-old. It's the same distance as your face when you're holding them. Nature designed it that way so they would focus on you. Let's talk about a second case study. A couple in Chicago, Mark and Elena, noticed their daughter was only looking to the right. They thought it was just a quirk, but at the 2-month mark, they realized she wasn't tracking objects to the left at all. This is a common condition called torticollis, basically a tight neck muscle. Because they caught it early, during those 2-month milestones, they were able to use simple stretching exercises and toy placement to fix it within a month. If they had waited until she was 6 months old, it would have required much more intensive physical therapy. This is why paying attention to these small 8-week signs is so vital. To recap what we've covered today, the 2-month mark is the transition from reflexive to intentional. Your baby is starting to smile because they want to connect with you. They are pushing up because they want to see the world. They are cooing because they want to be heard. Remember the S.P.E.A.K framework: smile, push-up, eye tracking, acoustics, and kicking. These are your 5 pillars of progress. Your mission for today is simple. Put away the phone, get down on the floor, and give your baby 5 minutes of uninterrupted face-to-face time. No toys, no distractions, just you and them. Watch for that tiny flicker of a smile. Listen for that first coo. When you hear it, respond with enthusiasm. You aren't just playing. You are building a human brain. If you found this helpful, I want you to do me a favor. Comment below with the one milestone your baby has recently hit, or the one you are most excited to see. Whether you're in a high-rise in NYC or a suburban home in Dallas, we are all in this together. In our next episode, we are going to dive into the 3-month growth spurt and how to survive the sudden change in sleep patterns. You're doing a great job, parents. Hang in there. The smiles are coming, and they change everything. See you in the next one. One more thing. If your baby is struggling with tummy time, try placing a rolled-up receiving towel under their armpits for a little extra lift. It can be a game changer. Okay, now I'm really going. Good luck.